my teammates.
It's not so much what they did, it's really how they did it.
This was put in motion last year, and the wrench was just kind of thrown into it when I won MVP.
End zone touchdown!
Is he the MVP or what?
Thing of beauty!
It's just kind of about a philosophy. It's about doing things the right way.
Without a doubt, I think it's inexcusable that the organization let it get to this point.
The people make an organization, and sometimes that gets forgotten.
If you've watched any of our programming over the past 2 months, you're well aware that reigning MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay and has been a no-show so far this offseason. Rodgers can be a tough guy to figure out. Some might say a complicated fella. So we sought some help from people who've been closest to him, his former backup quarterbacks. There's been quite a few since Rodgers took over as the full-time quarterback from Brett Favre in 2008. Our Sam Borden caught up with some of the understudies.
I'm Seneca Wallace, and I was Aaron Rodgers' backup for 1 season.
Joe Callahan, and I was Aaron Rodgers' backup for 3 years.
Brett Hundley, and I was Aaron Rodgers' backup for 3 seasons.
Graham Harrell, and I was Aaron Rodgers' backup for 3 seasons.
For more than a decade, you've known Aaron Rodgers for this.
Touchdown! 40-yard bomb from Aaron Rodgers! Hail Mary! Answered again! Rodgers the magician!
But for anyone who spent any time in the Green Bay Packers quarterback room, Rodgers will always be known for something else.
A deep thought person. I mean, some of the stuff that, that he would come up with, and you're like, dude, did you just come up with that just now?
If I was going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and play the little trivia night, I'd bring Aaron because he would be really good at it.
Rodgers' brain is put on display each week when one of Green Bay's backup quarterbacks puts together a test that's a little bit unusual.
The QB test for a backup quarterback in Green Bay might be one of your most stressful parts of the week. The first half is usually like football questions about the team that you're about to play and the defense that you're about to face. And then the second half, that's a little bit more on the fun side with trivia and riddles and funny videos. You really have to think about what you're putting into it.
You could get him every now and then on geography or something like that. Like history, he's sharpened. He's good in history, good in movies, good in music. And if you stumped him, one, he'd get mad at you, but he'd appreciate it in the long run. You know what I mean? Because he thinks he kind of prides himself in knowing a lot about everything.
He didn't like losing at all. I really hope Aaron watches this because I think the biggest thing that we had a battle was our body types, especially mine. I like to be very fit, six-pack, looking good, trim. And Aaron, his body fat percentage was through the roof most of the time when I was there. But I think that was the biggest struggle for Aaron. So like Aaron now, if you watch this, man, I hope your body percentage fattens down.
My rookie year, he invited us over for a little barbecue at his house, and then midway through the night, he broke out his karaoke microphone, which ranks how well you sing the song. Then we started duetting amongst the quarterbacks to see who could get the highest duet score, and that turned from just a fun little barbecue to us competing over karaoke.
How was Aaron as a singer?
He really sticks to some of the lower notes. He doesn't go outside his comfort zone, and I would definitely double check the calibration on that microphone because his scores seemed a little too high that day.
Backups in Green Bay quickly learned that Rodgers' interests range widely. Very widely.
We definitely had some conversations that were a little out there.
He's always thinking the crazy conspiracies. And so he's like, hey, what do you think all that stuff is flying behind that jet stream? Do you think that, has anything to do with maybe why everybody's getting cancer? That's just kind of his attitude. That's the way he's, wired.
You could go from talking about football then to talking about conspiracies about, who built the pyramids. And, there wasn't just one subject that we talked about.
Who does he think built the pyramids?
That's an in-house conversation. We can't reveal what we know.
A new backup has entered the room. First-round draft choice Jordan Love. And while some viewed the pick as disrespectful to Rodgers, his former backups know there's no better place for Love to be.
Green Bay definitely got the formula right the first time around with back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It gave Aaron maybe a little bit extra motivation.
If you see some of those young guys, he starts to build them up. He might tear you down first, and then he's going to build you up a little bit, but helps build that character and helps build that team camaraderie that you need.
Aaron's not going to give up that position, I'll tell you that. Jordan will be sitting for a while, but when time comes, whenever it comes, I'm sure Aaron will teach him what he needs to teach.
Rodgers' backups haven't seen the field very much since he took over as Green Bay starter in 2008. In fact, only 2 other Packers quarterbacks have more than 100 pass attempts over that span, and none of them have played well enough to post a QBR over 45. Since becoming the full-time starter, Rodgers has accounted for 89% of Green Bay's pass attempts. And Mina, in spite of what his former backups were saying, this team may in fact just be turned over to Jordan Love this year. If that is the case, what should the expectations be for the Packers?
Well, it would be quite different. So, backing up to last year, when Green Bay drafted Jordan Love, it was surprising, of course. It was the biggest surprise of the draft because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, because he had so many years left on his contract. But it wasn't surprising in one way, Dan, which is that Jordan Love was seen as a prospect who would need time to sit on the bench, whatever team he went to. He wasn't expected to come in and start right away. He had amazing arm talent in college, beautiful deep ball, throwing on the run, but he did struggle with decision making. In fact, in his final year at Utah State, he threw 17 interceptions to 20 touchdowns. That, I don't need to tell you, is very unlike Aaron Rodgers, who has maybe thrown 17 interceptions in several years. I will say, for Jordan Love, the one thing working in his favor would be that I believe Green Bay's offense is very quarterback friendly, and I think it would be very friendly to his skill set in particular. They would incorporate a lot of rollouts, a lot of play action, a moving pocket, and I think the combination of that offensive line, which still has some stars, as well as Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Robert Tonyan, it would be a good context for Jordan Love to walk into. But that doesn't mean the transition wouldn't be rough for the young quarterback, especially coming off of such a tumultuous offseason.
Yeah, Mina, with a head coach in Matt LaFleur, who can certainly groom him as well. I actually don't put the pressure on Jordan Love as much as I apply the pressure to the Packers front office. Because, by the way, how many first-round quarterbacks do we see that get to spend more than a season on the bench getting themselves acclimated? Like, if Jordan Love is not ready for week 1, should he be called upon, the Packers never should have spent a first-round pick on him in the first place. Think back to when Jared Goff got drafted, albeit as a first overall pick. He was 8 games into his rookie year and hadn't seen the field yet, and everybody was freaking out like he was the ultimate bust. Jordan Love has gotten a year. If he's not ready by week 1, quite honestly, in this day and age, he's not ready. And that would be a colossal mistake, in my opinion, an admission of a mistake, if in fact that's the case for the Packers front office.
In fairness, if memory serves, Goff was sitting behind Case Keenum, who was not, at that time, the reigning most valuable player in the NFL. Things are getting a little hairy in Washington, but maybe in a good way. Will the arrival of Ryan Fitzpatrick and his glorious beard lead to an explosion on offense for the Washington football team? We're going to tell you when we come back.